WNBPA President Nneka Ogwumike makes feelings clear on CBA extension amid ongoing uncertainty. Things eventually settle, and the WNBA is the latest example of it, even though there's still progress to make. The deadline has passed, and when it looked like an extension was off the table, players agreed to a 30-day continuation. But there's not much room to relax with all the delays, and this is the right moment to start addressing the main issues, something WNBPA President Nneka Ogwumike is also hinting at. This extension, too, wasn't an easy one, as according to ESPN, the WNBA offered an extension earlier in October, but they did not receive any response initially. Clearing her stance on this recent to-and-fro, WNBPA President Nneka Ogwumike explained this delay and the opt-out clause. This is another historical day, and what we anticipate to be a transformational negotiation, Nneka highlighted before speaking on the reasons. 2 weeks ago, the league offered an extension, but at the time, we felt the circumstances necessary for our agreement to an extension weren't quite met, but in the last few days, we felt the negotiations had evolved, so ultimately, the player leadership decided to respond to the request to extend the current CBA, Ogwumike said on NBC News. Wait, there's a clause here too that either side can pull out at any time with a 48-hour notice. The two sides have been locked in with regard to one major issue: the revenue share among the players. The league has been proposing a salary increase, but with a similar revenue-sharing structure as the last CBA. It is tied to revenue targets, which weren't met for the last 5 years, but with more achievable numbers. The players want to remove that altogether and frame it like the NBA, where they get 51% of the BRI outright. Maybe not the same number, but the same format. If the league wasn't ever willing to give them a share, they would have happily locked out. Many players have already said this outright. However, judging from Nneka Ogwumike's words and their decision to extend, it seems the league is slowly but surely agreeing to sharing a part of their revenue. Being able to continue on in good faith with these negotiations, with an agreement of an extension, albeit we wanted to maintain the urgency to reach what we want and know that it will be a transformational CBA, and also letting us have the right to terminate at any time, because we understand how big this is, Ogwumike further said. Mind you, an opt-out clause is a pretty traditional negotiating tactic to keep both sides on their toes. It ensures that there are consequences if any side backtracks on their previous stance. Beyond November 30th, there could be another extension if an agreement is not met, which again seems likely. If not, both sides enter the status quo with a threat of a work stoppage. However, according to ESPN, work stoppage is not imminent. Things could change quickly, especially after Nneka Ogwumike laid out some more of their demands. Nneka Ogwumike wants a retirement plan for WNBA athletes. According to Front Office Sports, the league's proposal earlier in October included a supermax salary of approximately $850,000. The veteran minimum was proposed of around $300,000, but it is thought that those figures have changed since then. In 2025, under the current CBA, those numbers were $249,244 and $66,079, respectively. Beyond just the salary, however, Nneka Ogwumike and company want a pension structure for past legends, too. The items that are also priorities for us include better working conditions across the board, including playing in practice facilities and, of course, protections to honor the players who built the league, the legacy of this league, while continuing to set up the next generations for success, Ogwumike said. Retirement plans exist in the NBA. Their pension plan dates back to 1965, following in the footsteps of the MLB, 1947, and NFL, 1962. However, even that has its conditions. It depends on years of service, minimum 3, average salary, and age. The players get a 401k, medical insurance, and even family coverage for 10+ years of service. So, it is not a completely unprecedented demand. In the case of the WNBA, does the league have enough to fulfill this? Their roughly $200 million a year media rights deal and the upcoming expansion fees could be able to cover. Things have changed since they negotiated the last CBA. However, it is still questionable if the players will get retirement benefits in the final CBA in addition to better salaries tied to revenue.